Welcome, everybody. This is Daniel Whited right here in the Denver, Colorado area. And welcome to the Doctor's Clinic. This is the place to where you'll discover so many things about how to get yourself healthier and where the world is your waiting room. And we got Dr. Kurt Fisnick here. And I had several calls this week, Doc, on, hey, you guys going to be talking more on weight loss. You're going to be talking more on how to get healthier weight-wise. And, because we've got into a lot of things. We've got into a lot of people don't have a weight problem. They've got a hormone problem, and the hormone called insulin, and they've got a sugar problem. They've got a hormone that stores fat, another hormone that releases fat, and those two can work against each other, and you can stay on the chubby side. And we've jumped in a lot of things, but I believe tonight, Doc, we're going to jump into some water and how important it is to hydrate your body and how that water can set you up to get healthier and actually cause you to lose some pounds that aren't necessary to have around. Dr. Kurt Fisnick, welcome to the call.
Hey, thanks, DW. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. And hang on one second. My dog, she's got to jump in my lap. Last week we were talking about toxins and detox, and the 2 weeks before that we were talking about hormones and talking about stimulating your hormones in your body, the 16 different hormones that are related to weight loss. And this week I thought it was important to talk about hydrating your body and getting good water and I think a lot of people think, oh, they're going to go buy this bottled water and it's safe. It's safer than drinking tap water. And I think we'll talk about that at the end of the call a little bit. But, there's a difference between having safe water and healthy water. And I think that's a point that we got to make, is that when we talk about the water that DW and Helen and I and a lot of you that are on the call that you drink, it's not just safe. It's not just the safest water on the planet, but it's also probably the healthiest water on the planet. And I was thinking about some things, and it's funny how people will start searching high and low, and they'll start looking for answers, and they'll start looking for explanations, but they really wait until they have a health problem. They don't start looking for answers before they get sick. They wait until they're sick and dying, and they're going to the doctor, and they're running to the doctor, and they're like, Doc, what can you do for me? And that's really probably the biggest problem in our country as far as weight loss, or not weight loss, but with health, is because we are so reactive rather than proactive. And you take a look at some of the things that we're doing here. It's so wrong. It's so wrong that we do. I mean, I watch, when I had my clinic, a lot of families, they'd bring their kids in for treatment, and I'd watch I'd ask what they had for breakfast, and I'd kind of make a mental note of it, and I'm sure none of you guys do this, but there's families that'll send their kids running out the door with these really, it's not really orange juice, it's just an orange sugary drink. Or they'll run out the door with a can of Mountain Dew, a can of Coca-Cola, and that's how they start the day. And one of the false premises that we have in this country and a lot of places in the world is that, if it's liquid, then it's the same as drinking water, and it's not. It's not. And so one of the things that I was going to talk about tonight was the sharing, the idea that that's a bad way to start the day, and maybe that's why we're having so many problems with obesity, is because we do view drinking those sugary drinks like that's Sunny Delight and Mountain Dew and all that stuff as liquid, so therefore it's water and it's as hydrating as water, but it's really not. And we go back to the 1700s and the 1800s, and even back then, they said that well, you don't need to drink until you start to feel dehydrated. And the problem with that is that by the time you start having a dry mouth, by the time you start feeling dehydrated, you've probably waited too long, and one of the last indicators of dehydration is actually when you get dry mouth, and so talking about, I mean, really the importance of water. That I mean, we know that the body is what I mean, DW, what percentage of the body is water? Do you know that number off the top of your head?
Yeah, I believe you're talking about 78% to 72%.
Yeah, that's what I say. 70 to 80% of the body is
Right
made
in
up
there.
of water. Yeah. How about the brain? How much of the brain is made of water?
Well, that's kind of interesting because you're talking about 3/4 of the brain is actually fluid. It's kind of interesting. And when it gets dehydrated, man, you're in some serious trouble.
Yeah. Yeah, actually 85% of the brain is made up of water, and only 15% is solid material. And so when we get dehydrated, we're really affecting a lot of that. And a lot of people, I think they think that water is just life sustaining, but really water should be thought of as life giving. And in the morning when you first get out of bed, I mean, let me back up just a second before I say what I was going to say. But I love to hunt, and if you talk to guys that like to hunt, or gals that like to hunt too, for that matter, where do you set up in the morning? I mean, if you're going to set up your deer stand, DW, you've done some hunting out there in Kansas. Where do you put your deer stand in the morning?
Well, you're going to put it to where they're going to go and get some water.
You're going to put it around the watering hole.
You
That's
better believe
exactly
it. And even the Bible talk about how deer panteth for the water. They actually get into a panting mode, literally panting, like they just pant, and they make a certain sound because they're signifying to everyone water's close, and the more they pant, the harder they get, the closer they are to the water, so the herd just goes, with them. So it's kind of a unique little story there about the deer. So back at you, Doc.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And what does that sound like again?
I'm going to knock you out. It's panting. Trap. I know trap when they're coming, brother. That was a trap.
I had to say that. I'm sorry. But but I like to hunt, and that's what we notice, is that you set up that deer stand in the morning, and you want to catch the deer or the elk or whatever you happen to be hunting. You want to catch them between the food and the water, because they're going to go get a drink of water before they go out to graze in the morning, and so that gives you a good shot at bagging the game, and so it's something that people don't think about, and right away, we run to the food pile first. We get the food bag out, and we start figuring out what we're going to eat, when really we should be thinking, we should be drinking a good glass of water and having that. And part of the reason is, and as you get overweight, as you get heavier, it gets to be worse, but you tend to drink, or you tend to eat first, because it satisfies the taste buds, and so you feel like you've accomplished more by eating first. But really, when you take a look at it, remember what we said, the brain is 85% water, and so right away in the morning, what do you want to get doing? You want your brain to start functioning first. You want your brain to be kicked into gear. And so if you're eating food, and most of the food that we eat is sugary, I mean, Tutti Fruttis or whatever you happen to have, Captain Crunch, I mean, and you give your kids that, you give them, those fruit roll-ups, I mean, you might as well give them a bowl of sugar, and then you give them Sunny Delight and all that stuff. I mean, give them a glass of sugar water, and the brain only uses about, during the day, only uses about 20% of the calories that you bring in, and so the other 80% is going to be either burned as energy, and in our country we tend to be more lazy, and so what ends up happening is it doesn't get burnt by the muscle, so it gets stored as fat, and so if we could take and kind of turn on the hydroelectric power by drinking a good glass of water, about a half an hour before we eat anything in the morning, what it's going to do is it's going to get your brain functioning. Think of it, like hydroelectric power, and so it's not just life-sustaining, it's life-giving, because your brain's going to burn that. It's going to burn that water as energy, because remember what's in there, there's hydrogen in there, and it's going to burn that. And as we talk about this, when DW and I start talking about, H2 water, why it's so much more important, so much more effective, you have that glass half an hour before you eat breakfast in the morning, and holy cow, I mean, you turn on that electric fuel pump, right? And one of the problems that we have as we get older is that the perception of thirst tends to go down, and we fail to drink enough, and that's one of the reasons that as people get older, they tend to have problems, because they tend not to have enough water intake, and mainstream medicine doesn't focus enough on this, and they don't talk about it enough with people, and share the real answers, with some of that stuff. But water really can be used as medicine, and if we start to understand some of this stuff, we can make a really good impact. And so if you want to reduce the volume of fat on your body, some of the fat that's already been deposited, what you want to do is you want to avoid the overeating, and you want to start drinking more water. And so that's some of the things that I want to talk about. But it also, you want to visualize, and I posted something like this on Sunday, visualization. You want to picture, yourself in your mind. You want to be able to close your eyes and visualize, what are you going to look like when you lose that extra fat, and focus on that. When you're working out, when I go to the gym, I focus on that, and I visualize where I'm going to be, what I'm going to be doing, how much more energy I'm going to have, and how much better I'm going to feel when I've lost that weight. And you got to keep storing that image. You got to reboot your brain and bring that image back up to the front of your brain all the time. Keep impressing upon your brain what the desire is for that outcome, and it's really, really important. But we have this sensation, or this message that your body sends out, and really, I mean, DW, I'll ask you, I mean, if your brain sends out a signal and it says, hey, you're hungry, what's the difference between that and the message it sends out when it says, hey, DW, you're thirsty? I mean, what's the difference? Can you really tell it? Do you think most people can tell the difference?
No, they can't. Not at all. Because there's not, they could, if there was a big, huge red siren going, drink water, or eat, and it doesn't come. It's the same way. As a matter of fact, when we talk about hydrating your body and drinking a good 8 to 10 ounces of water before you go to bed at night even is phenomenal for your heart, and the benefit it does for your heart. Drinking that same water in the morning, it absolutely, and especially our hydrogen water, you talk about detoxing, there's stuff that's been sitting in your system all night, and when you go in there and you slam, about 8 to 16 ounces of water first thing in the morning, before the fire and iced tea, before the coffee, before anything, and you slam that in there, it is just like flushing the toilet in your system. And a lot of people that their eliminator's not working right, that is one of the things that kicks it into gear, is having that amount of water in the morning. And so there's no difference. You can you can have the Sizzling, and I've had people tell me, I had the Sizzling, and an hour later I was hungry. Well, it's because your body's burning fat. So even burning fat will send a signal that you're hungry. And especially if your body's not used to it. And so when you're thirsty and when you're legitimately hungry. And so, Doc, what I've learned to do is when I feel hungry, and I know I probably really shouldn't be because I've had the right amount of fruits and vegetables and proteins, I will go slam 16 ounces of hydrogen water and wait 30 minutes and see if I'm still hungry. And guess what? I'm usually not hungry, Doc. Back at you.
That's one of the things I was just going to talk about, DW. I mean, you must have read the same book today that I read.
You and I have talked about this a long time ago, but people need to know we don't sit there and correspond on we live this stuff. So it's easy for us to get on here and talk and be on the same page and or be in the same book on the same page, and we love it when we're in the same sentence and paragraph. And it happens a lot because we live what we're doing and we're getting results by doing what we're teaching and talking about right now.
That's exactly it. I mean, like you said, half an hour before you eat and 2.5 hours after you eat, you should consume, like DW just said, 16 ounces of water. I mean, you even got the exact number that I was going to talk about. And that's because it takes that long. They found scientifically that it takes that long, a half hour before you eat and about 2.5 hours after you eat, for your brain to separate the search for water versus the search for food. And so if you're increasing your water increase, think of it like an equation. Let's go back and use some math. The more water, the less food. It has an indirect relationship. The more water, the less food. And the other thing is that the more water that you consume, you're going to crave increased proteins, and you're gonna crave less carbohydrates, and that's good because when you're craving less carbohydrates, you're gonna burn the fat as energy, and you're gonna build more lean muscle. And after all, isn't that what we want? We want to be lean and mean. You want to be able to burn all those sugars that you take in, and so that's what we want to do. And you're gonna see I mean, for me, here it is. It's been just on Saturday. It was a month exactly since I started my weight loss, and I've lost just right around 25 pounds in a month. So I mean, that's almost a pound a day. And a lot of that is water weight because you're going to lose a lot of edema. I noticed that a lot of swelling that I've had in my body went down. But the other thing is that you're going to activate some of those hormone-sensitive fat-burning enzymes, the hormones that we talked about 2 weeks ago, and you're gonna bump up the fat-burning enzymes. They're going to make it so that your weight loss is going to be more pronounced, and it's going to be more well proportioned. You're going to see that you're going to burn more fat, and like one of the things that the DW and I talk about a lot is the Sizzling, because it does stimulate fat burning. There's some things that are in there that stimulates fat burning, and it really is good. And so the water is like a clean fuel for your brain, and food calories are kind of a dirty fuel, like burning coal, and you don't want to burn coal. And when you drink water, it stimulates lipase, which is an enzyme. It breaks down the fat, and it converts those lumps of fat into small particles so that your body can burn them more effectively. And that's what the muscles and the liver do, and it makes it so it works. The other thing is that a glass of water stimulates your sympathetic nervous system. 1 glass of water will stimulate your sympathetic nervous system for 1.5, almost up to 2 hours. So 90 to 120 minutes, and what it does, it stimulates the adrenaline, and adrenaline causes causes a gradual loss of stored fat, and that's going to be more of a stable and permanent weight loss, rather than these fad weight loss plans that you see people go on, and you know, and we've talked about it, and you see them on TV where, you know, one year they're fat, the next year they're skinny, then they're fat, then they're skinny. I mean, if you watched the Super Bowl halftime show the other day, I mean, you probably noticed that Lady Gaga has just in the last year has really gotten a little fat roll over that suit that she wears. And I'm thinking, oh man, I wish she'd listened to the call. She could probably figure out a few things, but you know, she's not here. So anyhow, we won't talk about that.
You're a mess.
You know, for all of you that watched Super Bowl, what a great game. But you know, I mean, so I really like to talk about it, and you know, you take a look at, like we were talking about earlier, you know, when you drink that sugary drink in the morning, it stimulates the body to produce insulin, and insulin is the weight gain promoting hormone. It promotes you to gain weight, and it stimulates fat cells to convert sugar and carbohydrates into fat, and that's exactly what you don't want to do. So, you know, that kind of gives you a background of why I want to talk about water, why it's so important, and some research on why it's so important. So now, you know, let's talk a little bit about your water. I mean, if you're just drinking bottled water, I was talking to a friend of mine today, and I happened to notice that she had cases of water, and I said, oh man, I said, you know, that stuff is so unhealthy for you. And then she said, oh, why is that? She said, I don't like tap water. And I said, well, because, you know, when they put it in there, it's, you know, it's either reverse osmosis water, but a lot of times it's just somebody's tap water and they're putting it into a bottle. But when they put it in that bottle releases toxins. One of the main toxins is bisphenol A. And DW, what do you know about bisphenol A? What can you share with people about BPA?
Well, I can't share anything. If I can't spell it, I don't share it, brother.
So bisphenol A, BPA. Yeah, BPA. It's when your kids were little, and you gave them that little rubber ducky in the bathtub, and that plastic was soft, and the plastic, it's almost felt like rubber, right? So what did they put in the plastic to make it feel like rubber? They put BPA in there.
I'm assuming they put petroleum.
Yeah, BPA is a byproduct of petroleum, but bisphenol A, what it does is it messes around with your hormones. It messes around with estrogen. And like we talked about 2 weeks ago, estrogen, when you're trying to lose weight, estrogen isn't good. You don't want to have excess. And the problem with it is that bisphenol A, it doesn't stimulate good estrogens. You know, there's the good, the bad, and the ugly estrogens. It stimulates the bad ones. It stimulates the ugly ones. And so it increases your risk of certain kinds of cancer as well.
So like what I hear you telling me is that all plastics that are petroleum based, which they all are, like that, unless that toxic part is extracted out of the petroleum or out of the plastics, it is messing with hormones as well?
Oh, yeah. And it's not that they take it out of the plastic. I mean, check this out, DW. They actually put it in.
Are they morons?
Right? Because they want that little rubber ducky that your daughter's chewing on in the bathtub to be soft and rubbery. And so when she's chewing on it, when Danielle was chewing on that little rubber ducky in the bathtub, she was ingesting bisphenol A into her body.
That's bad, Doc. That's really bad. That makes me not even want to listen to the song, the Rubber Ducky song, ever again.
Right? But now, you know, so many people are aware. A lot of people are aware of bisphenol A, and they're going, "Oh, we're not going to do anything that has bisphenol A." And so now, what the chemical company's done is they came out with bisphenol B. And so now, you know, you look at it and you look at the label and you go, oh, it's not in there. Well, no, it's not in there because now they put an alternative form, and the alternative form is actually more dangerous than the original.
That's crazy, Doc.
Crazy. Yeah. It really is, right?
Crazy.
And so every time you drink that bottled water, and then on top of it, you don't know whose tap water's in there. You don't know what's actually in there. And like you know, Aaron Rennie, when he gives the tour of the manufacturing plant at Supernaturals, he talks about how a lot of places, a lot of manufacturing companies that make products, liquids that are bottled. DW, you've heard them say this. Their bottle, the bottle might be pure and contaminant free, but what about the cap? And the cap is loaded up with, they didn't fully cleanse and disinfect the cap, so they put the cap on the bottle of water, and now all of a sudden your bottle of water is loaded up not just with bisphenol A, now it has microorganisms in it.
And the danger of this and the danger level, they don't warn you about this stuff because, I mean, the truth is when you get into big pharma and all the things out there, they make money on you being sick, not on you being healthy. Not on you doing the steps to prevent. Doc, it's been a long time, and it's I don't know how long ago it's been, but Miss Helen and I, it's very difficult for us to drink out of a bottle. We put our water in glass only, and we've done it for a long time just because of the residual effects of what the toxins and contaminants that are in and around the plastics. And people used to get all excited. Well, that's a 1 on the bottle, and that's rated 3, that's rated 4. Well, all that means is that 1 will mess you up. It'll take a little bit longer for it to mess you up, and and water that's been sitting in the car all night, and get exposed to the sun, and get exposed to the heat, during the day, or even at night as well, or get frozen. That messes with the molecular structure of the plastic, which leaches more toxins and contaminants into the substance that you're drinking. And so, we just don't. Now, we'll drink out of a bottle of water for like emergencies if we have to. But I mean, even when I'm out coaching and doing things and doing community, Doc, I still take a bottle of water that is glass with some, now the rubber's on the outside of it, so the glass doesn't break as easy. But we started that, I don't know, it's probably a couple of years now. I mean, not soon enough, but that makes a difference, doesn't it?
It really does. It really does, and you start becoming aware of it, and I don't use a glass bottle because I tend to drop things and it breaks, and then now I got to clean up some glass. But I'll use stainless steel, and I'll carry a stainless steel container around with me. Or I bought a bunch of the Super H2 bottles from Sizzle, and I've got like 20 of them, and I'll fill those things up. I mean, I'm taking off on a week-long trip tomorrow, going to go visit one of my kids, and I'm going to fill an entire a backpack full of H2 water, and because I mean, I know that some of the H2 will leach out, but I know that I'll have a good clean source of water that I can carry with me as I'm driving down the road, and so let's take a couple minutes, DW, and now that we've kind of given people the idea of why they need water to lose weight, why they need water to stay healthy, why they need to prime the pump with good clean water before and after a meal. But why is it that the Super H2 machine is so good? Why does it produce such good water?
Well, I mean, one of the advantages you have, and we've got some people that are hypersensitive, and they'll actually send their water through 1 or 2 different filters before they even send it to ours. But there's a 4-stage filtering system in it. And, and that just absolutely takes out everything. I mean, even some of the, what people don't realize is water's not getting any cleaner. It's not getting any better. And one of the things that I want people to wrap their brain around, there's a lot of water is being recycled. It goes through the toilet and flushes out, and they pull the liquids out of there, and they try to recycle water. Well, there's a lot of medicines and pharmaceutical drugs that are in the water supply that they can't filter out, and it goes through our system, and those things can be filtered out. And then it passes through, after it goes through the filtering system, then it passes through a diatomic hydrogen. It's like a little treatment plant inside your water machine. It's really cool how the thing works, and it turns that traditional water that has now been massively filtered into into hydrogen water. So you got hydrogen in the water, and that hydrogen then is absorbed into your system, and so it goes from there. Now, one thing, Doc, that I may want to say this before you jump in and kind of finish this thought up, Nobody's doing that out there like what we're doing. And number two, the hydrogen is one of the smallest molecules known to mankind. I mean, I don't know, I've heard different arguments about it, but 1800 or so, some say 1700 it was discovered. Doesn't matter. It was discovered a long time ago. That molecule is so small that it goes through anything that is porous. Well, glass is porous. We don't think glass is porous. Well, it's because what we're pushing through, what we put into glass is bigger than the porous holes that's in glass. We don't think lead's porous. We don't think gold is porous. We don't think rocks and concrete is that porous. Concrete, you might see that a little bit, but it's all porous, and hydrogen can go right through all those elements. And so what it does, it grabs a hold of all the nutrition. It's just like this, Doc. If I was to ask you, and some people may have heard me share this before, but if I was to ask you to take a needle and set it off to the side and leave the needle to the side, but then you take a piece of thread and you take a patch and you take a leather jacket, and I said you can only use the thread, and you can only use the patch and the leather jacket. That's the only three things that you could use, and I want you to sew that thread, and throw that patch onto that jacket with only a piece of thread, a patch, and a jacket. You couldn't do it because, Doc, what would you need? You would need what?
I'd need that needle.
You need that needle. And hydrogen's the needle that grabs a hold of the triangle of life, that grabs a hold of the body shield, that grabs a hold of the sizzling, that grabs a hold of the Encompass 360 and the brain vitality, and just absolutely penetrates right through the mitochondria, the center of the cell, dragging nutrition into it. And that is a game changer. Back at you, Doc.
It really is.
Yeah, it really
is. And like we were talking about earlier, I mean, when we were talking about the brain, I mean, in the morning when you get up, like DW was saying, before him and Helen even get started with the day, they have a big 16-ounce glass of water. Well, guess what he's doing? He's pumping the brain with water. It's like we were talking about. It's the most clean fuel that your brain can use, and it's burning the hydrogen. Well, guess what we're doing? We're injecting extra hydrogen in there, so we're injecting extra fuel for the brain into your water. So it's like drinking, supercharged water. It's like running a premium fuel in your car rather than the regular gasoline. You're running premium, and that's what makes your body use it so much. And DW is talking about, I mean, the hydrogen is so small, and what it does is it attaches to the bad free radicals, the toxins in your body, and it neutralizes them. It actually converts them into a safe substance and water. A safe substance and water. Think about that. Because the bad free radicals, we've heard of free radicals and antioxidants, the bad free radicals, if you can picture them, they're chemical, what they look like. It looks like a glob of this, and then on the side, it's got this little OH molecule attached to it, a glob with an OH molecule, right? So if you remember your chemistry, which most people hated, but if you just bear with me on it, you're going to attach an H to that OH that's on that glob. So now all of a sudden that glob is neutral. It's got a neutral charge to it, and now it can pass out through your urine, or you can poop it out the other end, but you can get rid of it now. Your body can dump it, and it turns the other part of it into water. I mean, isn't that just? I mean, DW. When I read that equation, when Tom came out with this hydrogen water machine, I read that equation. No, that's too easy. That's too easy.
Well, that's exactly how it works. And sometimes the greatest things in life are the easiest things in life. It's easy to be nice. It's easy to do the right thing once you know the benefits of it. And what we're trying to do with this call tonight is gives you the benefits to start bringing hydration to your brain, to your heart, to your joints, to your lungs. I mean, you realize how much more oxygen you get with this product? Doctors all the time. I mean, when people get older and they're about to pass on, they have to up their oxygen level. Well, you know what? you don't wait until they throw some kind of plastic tube up your nose and they start blasting oxygen through your nose. Get it in your water now. We're talking about a $5,000 machine that a person can get their hands on for under $3,000. Doc, that is crazy good.
Oh, it is. And and DW and I can tell you, I mean, he's been there. I've been there. You don't want to wait until you're seeing death's door and they're telling you, hey, you might not make it. That's the wrong time to start thinking about what should I do. That's the wrong time. You want to do it beforehand. You want to make your body. So, think of it like this. There's all those Chuck Norris jokes, I mean, when Chuck Norris jumps, he doesn't go up in the air. The earth moves underneath his feet, right? And that's how strong you want to have your body. You want to have your body Chuck Norris strong. And Super H2 water is part of that whole equation. So DW, I think that's a good place to end the call, isn't it?
What a great call tonight, Doc. And we just want to encourage you to get the water, start doing it right. Don't saturate it in plastic where it's going to leach off toxins and parabens that are going to mess you up. Get it, do it right, do the right thing, and let's go make a difference. That's it for the Doctor's Clinic call tonight, where the world's your waiting room. You can pass this call out. It'll be out in just a few minutes. And, Dr. Kurt Fisnick, we appreciate you. And Kate as well there in Australia that puts things out and doing a fantastic job. And Barb Grindy, who's helping tremendously, and John T. Burns, and then Miss Helen, who's running the back office. So she gets the call out so everybody else can blast it out. What a team, Doc. We love y'all, and we'll see you next Tuesday night. And we're going to it'll be a surprise topic, and you're going to love it on Tuesday.
Thanks, everybody.